The stars look like indifferent gods, cold, eternal, and distant witnesses to humanity's shame. From the shattered surface of Earth's orbit, where fragments of the once great Terran fleet drifted silently, Captain Elena Ward watched as the final decree echoed across every channel in the system. By order of the Galactic Council, humanity is hereby exiled from the core. No colony, no ship, no life of Earth may enter Council space again. Violations will be met with extinction. The words pulsed through the comms in 6,000 languages, but their meaning was the same: humanity was unwanted. Ward's fingers tightened around the cold railing of the bridge. "They did it," she murmured. Her voice trembled, not from fear, but from disbelief. "They really exiled us." Beside her, Commander Isaac Hale stared at the tactical display. The once blue Earth was a ghostly sphere, now a wounded planet, scarred by the Council's orbital bombardment that had sterilized whole continents under the guise of containment. "They'll let us die out here," Hale said quietly. "No supplies, no routes, no allies. Just empty space." Ward turned to him, her dark eyes fierce under the dim emergency lights. "Then we don't die." A hush fell over the bridge crew. The air was heavy with unspoken despair. Families lost, cities erased, histories burned from the stars. The Galactic Council, in all its supposed wisdom, had decided that humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too emotional. It had started with the Andara incident, a mining colony rebellion that spiraled into the deaths of 2 alien senators. The Council demanded reparations, Earth resisted. When humans refused to hand over the colony's survivors, the Council called it treason. And now, the entire species paid the price. Ward straightened her shoulders. "Prepare the Exodus fleet," she ordered. "Every ship that can still burn fuel, we leave orbit in 12 hours. Hale frowned. "Leave to where?" "The nearest habitable system is 50 light-years beyond the reach. We don't have enough drives, Anne." "Then we build them," Ward said. "We survive, Hale. That's what we do." 12 hours later, the last remnants of humanity gathered in the black. 700 ships, civilian freighters, gutted war frigates, patched cargo hulks, all forming a desperate flotilla above a dying world. From the flagship Artemis, Elena Ward addressed the fleet. Her broadcast went out on every frequency, every screen. Her voice carried the kind of calm that only comes after one has lost everything. "This is Captain Ward of the United Terran Fleet. The Council believes this is the end of us. They think we'll fade, that our will breaks as easily as our bones. They are wrong. They exiled us to die in the dark. But humans were born in darkness. We made our own light. We crossed oceans, we crossed planets, and now, we'll cross galaxies. Today, we leave behind the Earth. Tomorrow, we begin again." The Artemis engines thundered to life. As Earth shrank in the viewport, Elena felt her chest ache. Not just from grief, but from the gravity of what she was leaving behind: the graves, the ruins, the unspoken history of every name carved into the soil. She whispered under her breath, "Forgive us, for surviving." Hale came up beside her. "We'll find a new home. Eventually." But his tone carried no certainty. The fleet's reactors were failing, supplies would last months at best. And beyond the reach lay the uncharted fringe regions even the Council's explorers feared. "Set course for the Perseus Edge," Ward said. "If the Council won't let us live in their light, we'll survive in the shadows." The first months were chaos. Ships failed. Some captains refused orders, choosing instead to drift toward the core in futile surrender. Others turned pirate, preying on their own. Food riots broke out aboard the Solace. Entire families were lost to vacuum breaches. But the Artemis endured. Hale coordinated supply chains, rationing systems, and rotating leadership councils. Ward never slept more than 2 hours. She walked the decks every night, speaking to engineers, medics, children, reminding them that they still had purpose. One evening, as the fleet coasted through the quiet void between stars, an urgent transmission crackled over the calm. "Unidentified energy signatures ahead," reported Lieutenant Mara Sloan. "Could be derelicts, maybe alien debris fields." Ward frowned. "Coordinates?" "Grid 93 Alpha. 30,000 clicks off our vector. Bring us in. Carefully. When the fleet approached, the sensors painted a picture no human had ever seen before, hundreds of enormous metallic structures drifting like tombstones in the dark. Ancient, silent, and vast. Council architecture? Hale asked. Sloane shook her head. No. Older. Much older. Ward leaned forward. The symbols etched into the structures were faint, worn by time, but unmistakably deliberate. Something had lived here. Something that wasn't supposed to exist anymore. Get me a drone feed. The video flickered to life, revealing vast alien monoliths floating in symmetrical patterns, orbiting a dead star. At the center hung a massive spire, still faintly glowing with residual power. Hale's voice was hushed. Captain, what is that? Ward stared at the screen. A chance, she said. Whatever this civilization was, they had technology. Power. Maybe even a way to rebuild. She turned to her crew. We're done running blind. We set up orbit here. This will be our first colony. Sloane hesitated. We don't even know who built it. Ward's expression hardened. Then we'll learn. They named it Erebus Station after the god of primordial darkness. Within weeks, humanity had carved their first mark beyond exile. Engineers restored power to the alien reactors, scientists began decoding the inscriptions. The station's core hummed with ancient energy, older than any known species. And in the glow of that alien light, Elena Ward made a promise to her people. We are not the Council's castaways, she said before the assembly. We are the architects of what comes next. But deep within Erebus Station's data archives, a sleeping intelligence stirred. Its sensors detected motion, life, warmth, and language it hadn't heard in over 100,000 years. A single, faint signal pulsed from the spire's core. Origin species detected. Access level, reinstated. Elena Ward never heard it. But the stars did. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The hum of alien machinery was unlike anything built by human hands. It was alive, pulsing, breathing in slow mechanical rhythms, as if the metal itself remembered what it once was. Captain Elena Ward stood on the observation deck of Erebus Station, watching the station's hollow heart pulse with faint blue light. Engineers drifted between scaffolds in zero-G, their suits glowing against the void. The air was thick with tension and awe. 3 months had passed since humanity's exile. The Artemis and 600 other ships now orbited this ancient monument in silent formation, a fleet of survivors turned settlers. Power grids stable, reported Lieutenant Myra Sloane, her voice crackling through the combs. We've restored 70% of the station's reactors. Whatever these things are, they self-regulate energy levels like they're aware of us. Ward frowned. Aware? Sloane hesitated. It's probably just feedback resonance. Still, this tech shouldn't work after 100,000 years. From behind her, Commander Isaac Hale joined her at the viewport. You ever think maybe it's working because of us? He asked quietly. Ward turned to him. Explain. Hale gestured toward the glowing spire at the station's core. These symbols, these interfaces, they respond to human DNA markers. Sloane's team ran tests. The more human neural input in the network, the more stable the systems become. Ward's brow furrowed. You're saying this thing recognizes us? Or something that came before us, Hale replied. Something we're descended from. A chill ran down her spine. Humanity had been called primitive by the Council, a young, reckless species barely out of its cradle. But what if that was a lie? What if humanity wasn't the youngest race in the galaxy, but the oldest one reborn? Later that night, the Command Council convened in Erebus's main hall. The architecture itself seemed alive, metallic ribs curving like the inside of a vast, breathing creature. Colonies Solace and Nightingale report stable life support, Sloane said. But food reserves are down to 38%. Hydroponics isn't scaling fast enough. Then we divert labor from the outer repair teams, Ward ordered. Survival first, expansion later. A scientist named Dr. Aaron Vance, head of Zenitech Research, shifted uneasily. Captain, with respect, expansion is survival. The deeper we explore the station, the more power we uncover. But there's something you should see. He pressed a key, and the hollow display in the center of the room shimmered to life, revealing an image of the spire's inner chamber. It was a vast cathedral of machines, towering structures intertwined with cables and crystalline conduits, all pulsing with faint organic light. In the center stood a humanoid shape, encased in a transparent shell of unknown material. A machine. A being. Ward leaned forward. Is it functional? Vance nodded slowly. Functional and self-repairing. Its systems are ancient, but they react to our presence. We've dubbed it the Prime Construct. Hale's jaw tightened. You think this thing's part of the station's control core? Vance's gaze was distant, almost reverent. I think it is the station's core. And I think it remembers us. They descended into the chamber 2 hours later. Ward, Hale, and Vance stepped through the shimmering blue haze that separated the command levels from the lower vaults. The air smelled faintly metallic, like ozone after a lightning storm. The Prime Construct stood motionless, suspended in the transparent column. Its form was humanoid but elegant, slender, metallic limbs, a featureless faceplate, and veins of soft light running beneath its surface. Power readings are climbing, Sloane's voice echoed over calms from above. Captain, we're triggering something down there. Ward approached the figure slowly. Her reflection shimmered on its surface. What are you? She whispered. Then the light flared. The construct's eyes, twin orbs of burning white, snapped open. A deep, resonant voice filled the chamber, speaking in a language none of them recognized. The sound wasn't heard through the air, it was felt, vibrating through their bones. Vance staggered back. Translation systems can't keep up. Wait, it's adapting. The voice shifted, reshaping into something comprehensible, like a memory learning to speak again. Identity, prime designate of the origin species. Query, why have you returned? Ward froze. Origin species? The construct tilted its head, scanning her. Genetic match, partial. Biological fracture detected. You are. Remnants. Hale stepped forward cautiously. Remnants of what? The machine turned its gaze toward the distant stars visible through the ceiling's viewport. The first builders. The makers of the gates. You left this galaxy in fire. Ward's heart pounded. You're saying humans built this? Your kind was not named human then, the voice replied. You were Starsun, the architects of light. You created the council. And they betrayed you. Silence fell. Even the hum of the machines seemed to pause. Ward's throat tightened. That's impossible. The council's archives. Our lies built on your graves, the construct interrupted. They feared your return. They erased you. But this place was left as memory. Vance was trembling. Captain, if this thing's telling the truth, the council didn't exile us out of fear we'd destroy ourselves. They did it because they were terrified we'd remember. Days passed in a haze of revelations. Erebus Station was no ruin, it was a seed. A shipyard designed to awaken only when its creators returned. Beneath its surface lay dormant ship forges, energy converters, even blueprint matrices for technologies beyond anything the council possessed. For the first time since exile, the fleet wasn't dying, it was evolving. But power never comes without a price. On the sixth day, Erebus's sensors detected movement in the void, 3 council cruisers, marked with the sigil of the Volari Dominion, approaching from hyperspace. They were searching for survivors. Hale burst into the command deck. They found us, Captain. We've got 12 hours before they breach range. Ward's expression hardened. How? Probably intercepted old distress beacons. Maybe they're sweeping the exile corridor. Sloane's voice trembled over comms. They're hailing us. Orders to surrender or be purged under Council decree. Ward looked to the glowing spire, to the construct that watched them silently. Can this station defend itself? She demanded. The machine's voice rumbled through the deck. Defense protocols are sleeping. Power required, human consent. Ward's pulse quickened. You mean me? Consent is control. Will you claim what is yours? The bridge lights dimmed. Every eye turned to her. Hale spoke softly. Elena, if you do this, if you wake it, we're declaring war on the entire council. She met his gaze. They already declared war when they left us to die. Then she turned to the console, pressed her palm against the glowing interface, and said, I consent. Erebus came alive. Power surged through its veins, lighting the void with blinding radiance. The spire flared like a newborn star as ancient defense arrays unfolded from the station's hull, vast rings of molten metal, humming with forgotten energy. The 3 council cruisers entered range. Ward stood at the center of the command deck, her voice steady. Target lead vessel. Disable first, destroy second. A moment later, the void erupted. From Erebus's core, streams of pure energy burst outward, slicing through the council ships like blades of light. The first cruiser shattered instantly, the second spiraled into debris. The third fled, engines burning white. The battle lasted 47 seconds. When silence returned, Hale exhaled in disbelief. My God! The construct's voice echoed softly, almost like approval. The remnants remember. The makers rise again. Ward stared out at the wreckage, her reflection glowing in the viewport. I don't know who we used to be, she whispered. But we're not dying here. Outside, the light of Erebus spread across the black. A new dawn forged in exile. The galaxy trembled. 3 weeks after the Battle of Erebus, every listening post along the Council's outer rim had gone silent. The Volari cruisers that fled never returned. The Council worlds whispered rumors that the exiled humans had awoken something ancient in the dark, something that should have stayed dead. They were right. Captain Elena Ward stood in the command chamber of Erebus Station, staring at the star map projected above the table. Thousands of red nodes pulsed faintly, Council patrol routes, colonies, supply lines. The construct had given them access to everything. Commander Isaac Hale leaned against the console, exhaustion etched into his features. You've seen the reports, he said quietly. Half the fleet wants to stay here, rebuild, make Erebus a home. The other half, they want revenge. Ward didn't answer. Her eyes lingered on the bright blue symbol hovering over the galactic core, the Council's heartworld, Orion Prime. It was there, among those shining spires, that humanity had been judged unfit to exist. Revenge won't bring Earth back, she said finally. No, Hale agreed, but it might keep us from ever bowing again. Ward exhaled slowly. She thought of the millions still aboard the refugee ships, children born in metal corridors, elders who still whispered prayers to a dead sky. They didn't want blood. They wanted belonging. Then we'll give them both, she said at last. A place to live and a reason no one will ever exile us again. Erebus had become more than a station, it was a cradle of rebirth. Under the construct's guidance, human engineers forged new ships, vessels of living alloy that responded to their captain's neural signatures. Each was faster, stronger, and more intuitive than anything the Council had ever built. The Artemis, once a relic of Earth's fallen navy, was now reborn as the Aegis Prime, its hull laced with luminous veins of alien circuitry. It was no longer a warship. It was a symbol. On the day of the fleet's departure, the construct appeared once more in its humanoid form, standing beside Ward on the observation deck. Your kind has restored that which was broken, it said. But the Council will not yield easily. They hold what is yours, your history, your name. Ward studied its featureless face. You want us to destroy them. Destruction is a word of children. Restoration requires fire. Hale's voice came through the calm. All ships report ready. Fleet formation complete. We're waiting on your mark, Captain. Ward turned to the construct. Then we'll burn only what must be burned. The Aegis Prime led the fleet into hyperspace, 1,000 ships streaking across the void in streams of blue light. For days, the Council remained blind. When their sensors finally detected the anomaly, it was too late. The Aegis emerged at the edge of Orion Prime's orbit, engines glowing like a second sun. On the Council's capital world, alarms screamed through the crystalline cities as planetary defense grids powered up. 12 battlecruisers rose from the surface, their hulls gleaming with the gold of self-righteous authority. The Council's broadcast cut through every frequency. This is the Galactic Council to Unidentified Fleet. You are entering protected airspace. Identify yourself or be neutralized. Ward's reply was calm, steady, and cold. This is Captain Elena Ward of the United Terran Fleet, exiled, condemned, and forgotten. We return not for vengeance, but for truth. There was a pause. Then another voice came through, deeper, older, filled with disdain. Captain Ward. The humans still live. I am High Chancellor Varel. Do you imagine that a handful of derelict ships can threaten the Council? Ward glanced toward Hale. Open visual. The Chancellor's image flickered into being, a tall, gray-skinned alien, robes of authority draped over his shoulders. Behind him stood the 12 Council races, watching in judgment. You exiled an entire species to die, Ward said. You erased our history, our name, our origin. But the galaxy has a longer memory than you think. Varel's narrow eyes glinted. You were spared extinction. That was mercy. Mercy? Ward's voice broke with anger. You scorched our home. You left our children to starve among the stars. And still, we survived. You call that mercy? The Chancellor leaned forward. You survived because we allowed it. Ward's tone hardened. No. We survived because we are the makers. The Council chamber erupted in confusion. Varel's composure slipped for the first time. Impossible. That name is forbidden. Lost. Not lost, said another voice, not human, but ancient and mechanical. The construct's hologram materialized beside Ward, its form towering, radiant with light. I am Prime of Erebus. I was built by the makers, to guard their return. Your council exists because they made you. The Chancellor staggered backward. No, the makers perished in the cataclysm. They became human, the construct thundered. They forgot, so that the galaxy might begin anew. And you turned on your creators. The entire chamber fell silent. Ward's voice, when she spoke again, was soft but cutting. Your exile didn't end us, Chancellor. It woke us. And now you'll answer for what you've done. The Council fleets opened fire. Energy beams lanced through space, lighting the void with threads of death. The human fleet moved as one, formation shifting like a single living organism. Erebus-forged vessels absorbed and reflected the attacks, converting energy into fuel. Ward's voice rang out over the comms, all ships, shield the civilian zones. Target their weapon arrays, not their cities. Hale coordinated the assault with surgical precision. Council cruisers fell in waves, not annihilated, but disabled, their systems overridden by Erebus code. From orbit, the Aegis projected a field of shimmering light over the capital world, blocking all outgoing transmissions. Within minutes, the battle was over. 12 Council worlds watched in horror as the impossible unfolded. The exiled species, the forgotten children, had just conquered the heart of the galaxy without firing on a single city. Ward's fleet surrounded Orion Prime, engines silent, weapons cold. The construct's voice filled the air. The age of the Council is ended. The makers have returned to their creation. Inside the Council chamber, Varel fell to his knees. What will you do? He whispered. Ward stepped forward, her face illuminated by the pale light of the chamber's core. What we should have done long ago, rebuild. She turned to the holocom broadcasting across the stars. To all species who hear this, humanity is not your enemy. We were the first to build the stars, and we will be the last to fall to darkness. The Council's reign ends today not in conquest, but in renewal. We are one galaxy, one inheritance. The Makers do not rule. We remember. Years later, the galaxy was transformed. The Council became the coalition of worlds, guided not by fear, but by shared legacy. Erebus stood as the new capital, half alien, half human, glowing above a once forbidden world. Children from 100 species studied together in its halls. And among them, human explorers prepared new expeditions, beyond even the known galaxies. Elena Ward stood once more on the observation deck of the Aegis Prime. The stars shimmered like embers across a dark ocean. Hale approached quietly. "We did it," he said. "We made it home." Ward smiled faintly. "Home isn't a place anymore, Isaac. It's what we carry with us." He looked out at the stars. "Where to now?" She gazed at the void, where a faint new light pulsed, a distant signal, unknown and beckoning. "Forward," she said. "Always forward." The Aegis Prime turned toward that light, engines igniting with silent fire. The fleet followed, fading into the horizon of creation. And in the wake of their passing, the galaxy whispered a single word, one that had been forbidden for millennia. Makers.